Okay. All right. So we'll call to order the meeting at 7:22. Uh, Harley, do you want to read the territorial recognition?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Perfect.
So Brock University acknowledges the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people.
You're muted, girl.
Sorry. I was going to say we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda, but I did want to add something to the agenda. Just because I was looking at the BUSU Board of Directors policy, and in policy 102, the Board of Directors, it points out in 6E that we're supposed to complete 4 financial metrics reviews that include staff budget spending, staff reimbursements, club levy spending, and engagement levy spending. So we're supposed to have those in September and November, which we missed. And when I was on BUSAC before, we used to have those updates every month. So I'm hoping we can start including those and just catch up on the ones that we missed. Robert, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, actually I had my hand up before yours, but certainly we can bring those forward in January. So I can do that absolutely. And the other thing, Madam Chair, I'd like to sort of add is a very quick verbal update from the General Manager's chair on just a few items at the end of this agenda, if that's possible.
Yes, just like a verbal update of your report, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, that's totally fine. Anisha, your hand is up too.
Yeah, just wanted to add as well verbal updates from like an exec side report. Thank you, Kaylee.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see your hands up before. I missed those. But thank you for adding that in. Okay, so we have verbal updates. Awesome. Okay, so we can move then to the agenda approval. So be it resolved, board approves the agenda for meeting number 7. Can I get a mover for that? Charlie, seconded by Hinkle, all in favor? Okay, I can't see everyone on screen, so I can't see if everyone put their hand up. I don't know if you can, Kaylee.
I can see the attendance list, and when they raise their hands, I can see them listed there.
Oh, here we go. Now I see them. Okay, that's everyone's hand. Awesome. And then for minutes approval, be it resolved, board approves the minutes from meeting number 6. Can I get a mover for that? And a seconder? Moved by Hinkle, seconded by Mohiz. All in favor? Is that everybody? Mohiz? Okay, there we go. That is everybody. Okay, so we can start then with our next agenda item meeting, which is going to be presented by Robert. And the motion reads, be it resolved, BUSU board approves contribution of $7,500 per year for 4 years beginning May 1st, 2025 to support the Brock University Menstrual Equity Project. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. So I am bringing this forward on behalf of Human Rights and Equity, and this is their request. So this is not a recommendation of mine, but it's their request coming forward. And so essentially they're asking for $7,500 per year for 2024 or 2025, 2026, and 3 years subsequent to that. So very quickly, I'll summarize the sheet. So BUSU piloted this program for 3 years. BUSU made a one-time donation to Human Rights and Equity of $10,000 for 4 years of service. We're currently in year 3 of the service, and the funding has expired. And in that we've utilized all the funding. When we actually made our one-time contribution of $10,000, Human Rights and Equity matched our contribution. Facilities management orders the products, places the products, and then basically disposes of the products that are left in disposal bins. They've again, Human Rights and Equity have requested $7,500 for the next 4 years. Human Rights and Equity will match that contribution. Want to make you aware that there are no funds currently budgeted by BUSU. We actually finished last year with a surplus of $773. We have a surplus projected in our Division 1 budget this year of $724. The advocacy budget can actually allocate $2,500 per year without needing to do anything different. If we allocate any additional funds from the Division 1 budget, we're going to have to delete some things. So that is my summary of what was duly circulated. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Robert. Is there any questions from anybody on the board? Okay, I guess I have a question. So that we gave the $10,000, and we did not have anything budgeted until they've come and asked us for this new request, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm just wondering from your side on the staff, do you have a recommendation? Because I know you just mentioned that we don't have a lot from the Division 1 budget and we have to cut other things.
Well, I mean, what we're suggesting is, like, last time the board approved $10,000 a one-time contribution. There is $2,500 that requires very little pain in the advocacy budget on a yearly basis. After that, again, the board doesn't have to approve $7,500. It can approve 0. It can approve $2,500. It can approve anything between 0 and, you could turn around and say you could give them $15,000. That's sort of largely up to you. But $2,500 is something that we can do from the advocacy budget without really having any effect on the Division 1 budget. But again, it's a decision before the board.
Okay, thank you. I guess what I'm seeing, like, obviously menstrual equity and these products within washrooms are super important. I think the ask is kind of high, especially since we're wanting to provide this free for students, but then we're also kind of like taking the money that students are paying in, so it's almost like they're paying for it essentially, even though it's labeled under as like free menstrual products. But I do think it's so important to obviously support this. So I don't know if anybody else has any other recommendations, but I would be in favor with what we have left in the advocacy budget. Charlie, go ahead.
I guess my only question would be so far is how much is currently in our advocacy budget, and is there anything like that would have to be kind of taken away from, like, any future projects that would have to be scrapped because of this, or what's the current, like, if you understand what I'm saying, like the current state of the advocacy budget?
I don't know if Robert or Keely could speak to that.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. So we have for 2 or 3 years now made a significant contribution to the OER Open Education Resources grant that the university has implemented, and we've seen really good return on investment in that. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I know Carly does. She's on the OER working group. That contribution has been around $20,000. And what Rajiv has explained to us is that, you know, there's a large amount of professors who take that offer up at the beginning, and then it kind of settles down. So they don't expect as much money, as much of a request to come in for that project going forward. So when looking at the budget, I told Robert that, you know, I'd be comfortable just accounting for up to $2,500 per year going forward, given that the OER dollar amount will be less.
I have a follow-up question, I guess, kind of. The menstrual equity project at Brock is run under what department? Is that us, or that's a Brock department? Yes,
It's run by the Social Justice Center, Student Justice Center, and that is under Human Rights and Equity.
okay. And then just to speak to that as well, is Brock offering any funding for this project, or is it solely been funded by BUSU? Go ahead, Robert.
So the Student Justice Center has contributed matching funds to BUSU. The Student Justice Center is solely funded by student ancillary fees through the SJC levy. So the answer to that would be the students are funding the SJC. Brock is not funding it. Brock is only purchasing the products and then using custodial resources to stock the products and to dispose of the products.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or would like to express any opinions on this? Monkeys, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I noticed, at least according to the project that we had previously, that we were giving around 2.5K, if my understanding is correct. So is there a reason we are significantly increasing it by almost 3 times? Or I just want to better understand.
Robert?
So Mohi's not my request per se. So this is what we were requested to do. So the uptake has been higher. What custodial services is telling the Student Justice Center is that it'll be about $15,000 a year. They asked me to come forward and ask the board for $7,500 per year for 4 years. Like, so it's $7,500 1 year, the next year, the next year, the next year. And that's does that help answer your question, Mohis?
It does. And if I can follow up, Madam Chair, is that possible?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Robert, for clarifying that amount. Do we have any other information outside of this kind of document that kind of clarifies where these or how this budget is being allocated, or we just kind of have this initial proposal or request?
Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially, I was called into a meeting. It was actually kind of odd. I was called to a meeting. I thought I was actually meeting about custodial services for our building because I'm actually responsible for the building. And who was actually in the meeting was the SJC and someone from facilities management. And essentially, they informed me that the costs have gone up, and they were asking us for additional monies. So that is the only other information that I have. And in terms of like an account of the $10,000, I doubt that would be tremendously forthcoming. They've indicated they've spent it and they have no more money remaining, but they have not provided us any account of that.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I'm in favor with the 2,500 left from our advocacy budget. So I can amend the motion, but I'm just wondering if anyone feels strongly another way. Because also I think there should be some sort of transparency. That's kind of odd that they're just like, oh, we've run out now and need 7,500. So But I think that's still a decent amount to give, and that's what we have been giving in the past, so. Okay, cool. I'm not hearing anything, so let's just change the motion then. Oh, Ian, is that you speaking?
He
Nope.
just joined just right now, so he may just not have.
Okay, hi Ian. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I'll read out the motion as it's changed. Be it resolved, the BUSU board approves a contribution of 2,500 per year for 4 years, beginning May 1st, 2025, to support the Brock University Menstrual Equity Project from the BUSU Advocacy Levy. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Mohiz, moved by Mohiz, seconded by Ian. All in favor? Raise your hand, your virtual hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who are we missing?
I think just yourself and Dina. But Dina said she may be distracted with work.
Okay.
I can count her as an abstention.
Hold on. Let me see. Now I can't find my virtual hand for some reason. Where? Oh, here it is. Okay, there we go. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, we can put Dina as an abstention, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, so that motion carries. The next one is club's funds. The motion reads, be it resolved that board approves the transfer of 22,370.38 from the Brock University Chinese Student and Scholars Association Club Scotiabank account to the BUSU Club's funding account. And Kaylee, if you want to speak on this.
Yep, for sure. So the BUCSSA is a club that has been around for many, many years. They were a club that I worked with when I was club's manager a long time ago. They have sorry, I shouldn't say they've de-ratified it. They have not re-ratified this past year. We also waited until this last October ratification period happened and they didn't ratify. Chloe reached out to the past executives of the club who confirmed they were not going to be re-ratifying again. And but they do have a Scotiabank account. And whenever we're in a situation where clubs no longer ratify, we do have to close their Scotiabank accounts. Usually there's a little bit of money in those accounts. I shouldn't say usually, but if there is any amount of money in those accounts, it's usually quite small. And what Chloe does is closes the account and puts the money back into the club's levy for other clubs to access through club's funding. But this club has accumulated more money than we're used to seeing throughout the years. So Chloe and I were just most comfortable coming to the board to make sure that the board is in agreement that this money would move from that Scotiabank account back into the club's levy. We do have to close the account, so the money does have to go somewhere. And it doesn't specifically say anything in our club's funding policy. It just said club funds are non-transferable, whether to be to another club or a general account. And the spirit behind that is that clubs cannot transfer funds between other clubs. Clubs can also not take club's funding from the club's account and move it to a personal club's account or an account of a club member. But what we've been doing has been working well for us in the past. It's just we were a little taken aback by the dollar amount that was in this club's account. So we wanted to bring that to the board. Just to give a little bit of an update, as of December 5th, there's about $2,300 left in club's funding. Not a lot of money, but we'll say that there's no club that's waiting to get club's funding. Every club that's presented to CPC has received their funding. And every club that's presented to CPC is presented funding for the entire year. So there's not an expectation that many more club funding requests are going to come forward. But we did have a number of clubs ratify this past ratification period that will become active as of January. And so if this money does move back into the club's funding account, it may be helpful if any of those brand new clubs are looking for a little bit of money to operate next semester. So I'm happy to take any questions. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Thanks, Kaylee. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Yes, Mohis, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So originally when I was reviewing the proposal, I did have that question, have we reached out or how many responses did we make? So I do appreciate that you clarified that. My only concern when I was looking at our BUSU clubs, now from my understanding, obviously we do have to de-ratify and do something with their account. But my concern is that when I was looking at our kind of BUSU clubs portal, we don't really have alternative kind of spaces for Chinese students. The only other one is a Mandarin fellowship, which is more faith-based. And from what I knew, at least when I was at Brock, it was a very big part of, I guess, Chinese student life. It may be that they've transitioned to being more of an informal association. But I'm just wondering, so I know, okay, execs, we've clarified they are not pursuing re-ratifying the club, but are we aware if it would be affecting Chinese students or their kind of experience at Brock? If not, or we don't know, that is acceptable as well.
I'm not sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're able to talk to that, Kaylee.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can give a very thorough answer on that, but what I'll say is that, all of the clubs have the same training and resources that they all have. And this is kind of the cycle of clubs that happens every now and then, is that we have clubs that become inactive and they don't ratify, and it may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may take 3 years before we see a group of Chinese students who are interested in ratifying a club again. That's not to say it won't happen again, but it also is one of those things where we kind of need to leave it to the students to take the initiative to kickstart this club, if they want to continue. I've seen it happen before. Brock Pride was a huge club when I was a club's manager. Then for a few years, they just didn't exist. And that's certainly a club that, is really important for a lot of students on campus, and had a really big following. And, fortunately, some students picked it back up, and they're very active again, and they're a large club again. But that's kind of the life cycle of clubs, unfortunately, that unless they're students to really take the reins and continue on with them, sometimes they don't re-ratify.
Awesome. Does that answer your question, Mohis?
Can I make one quick follow-up? If that's
Sure. Go ahead.
okay, thank you. So thank you, Kaylee, for clarifying that. Definitely, I do agree. There's definitely a life cycle that every club goes through. So, at least in my experience, what I notice is a lot of kind of students who are Chinese or they're from East Asian backgrounds, they have trouble communicating in English. And I've seen it repeatedly in many of my classes or friendships. So I think maybe one good thing BUSU could explore in the future, just as a recommendation, is trying to reach out to Chinese students or from East Asian backgrounds, Korean, Japanese, in their native languages, and kind of educating them about BUSU on Brock premises. I think that would enable more kind of East Asian students to be empowered and to communicate their needs. And I guess that's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mohis. Appreciate the follow-up. Is there any other questions for Kaylee, or are we good to vote on the motion? Anusha, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It's nothing like I just wanted to make a point in terms of what he's added. With regards to East Asian students, we have the ESL program at Brock, which more or less, and I completely agree that we should probably look into it more in supporting East Asian students, but just as an information item in terms of there's a lot of support that ESL as part of Brock International provides the students, and they provide the students with a lot of information on what's happening on campus as well as all the services that are provided to students.
Thanks, Anusha. Appreciate that. Any other questions? And I guess just to clarify, Kaylee, like this will specifically go back into the club's funding budget, correct?
Yeah, it'll go back into the pool of money that clubs can request funds from.
Okay. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions or hands up, so I'll read it again. Be it resolved that board approves the transfer of $22,000 from the Brock University Chinese Student and Scholars Association Club Scotiabank account to the BUSU Club's funding account. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Hinkle, seconded by Charlie, all in favor. That's 4 hands. 5 with me. And okay, you can put your hands down. All opposed? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. And I'm not sure if Dina voted, but if she didn't, then we'll just leave it as an abstention.
Yeah, she didn't, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, perfect. We can move on to our next agenda item, which is the Brock Press update facilitated by Robert. Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I did receive a response back. I was asked verbally, not motion, but asked to follow up with the Brock Press. I did hear back from them. They indicated that they would be basically updating their shareholders page on their website over the winter break. That's what they've indicated. They also indicated that they're still working with their legal team to format the bylaws for ONCA compliance, so the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. The project ended up being more laborious than expected because not only are we updating our bylaws for ONCA compliance, but we're consolidating our wording of our bylaws. So they indicate that for that reason, the bylaws will likely take more time and then the other information to make its way onto the stakeholder page of the website, but it's being plugged away at. The actual deadline, so the actual ONCA actually came into compliance 3 years ago as of October the 18th. So all not-for-profit corporations in Ontario had 3 years to become compliant. We're currently the 10th of December, 3 years later. And at this point in time, as of, they are not yet compliant. So that is my update for the board. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks for the update, Robert. Does anyone have any questions regarding Brock Press? Go ahead, Mohis.
So I do appreciate that Hatham has given some timeline, but I do still think it's fuzzy. I wish we had a more concrete, exact time when we can expect something.
Are we able to request a timeline, Robert, if you can speak to that?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, perfect. Do you have a recommendation for that?
I think that we could ask the Brock Press to have, because they indicated over the winter break. So I'm going to look at just a calendar for a second, Madam Chair, just for a moment. We could ask that the Brock Press be completed the upgrading of the updating of their shareholders page by either Friday, January the 10th or Friday, January the 17th. If we're looking at Onca compliance, it was due the 18th, so you could go with January the 17th, or I'm just going to fast forward, or perhaps Valentine's Day, February the 14th, if that is helpful to the board.
Okay, and then also we do have our board meeting in January is right now set for the 13th. So I'm wondering if we do ask for the 10th, because then we'll have an update for our meeting in January.
Madam Chair, that would be agreeable to me if it's agreeable to the board.
Okay. Also, who are the shareholders that they're speaking of, or stakeholders, whatever they mentioned?
For through you, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
to you, Madam Chair. So they indicate that their shareholders, according to their bylaws, and according to how they structure themselves, which is they consider themselves a co-op, and they call it a workers co-op. Their shareholders and their board members are their staff that are elected among their staff. That's what they consider their shareholders.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So then I'm in favor then of asking for an update by January 10th, 2025. I'm not sure if we need a motion for that or just to task Robert, just to follow up with them and ask for that update. Does that sound okay, Robert?
I can task on that front. Is there a timeline you wish to give for Onca compliance?
Should it also be January 10th?
Through you, Madam Chair, I could ask for that. They have indicated that they need more time. However, we could demand that it be January 10th, and if it's not, then we can certainly discuss that on our January 13th board meeting.
Okay, I'm fine with that. If everyone else is okay with that, if you just want to give a thumbs up, just so I know that we're all kind of on the same page here. Question, Anusha, or is that like your thumbs up?
No, sorry, I just had a question to you. Rob,
Yes.
do you think maybe because like the break is coming along, processes could be slow, we should probably allow them for a little more time?
If I'm just reading what they said in their letter, bylaws, consolidating, hardening work, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm okay with the January 10th. I think that's still plenty of time, but does anyone have another recommendation? I'm open to another recommendation. Mohis?
Yeah, so I do agree with you, Madam Chair. I do think January 10th is good or ample time because they do specify winter break. And so I would expect them to kind of follow through with their kind of commitments.
Okay, thanks, Mohis. Okay, so if we just want to kind of show me a thumbs up again that everyone's okay with that, because then we'll have an update for our meeting on January 13th. Okay, I'm just seeing one thumbs up, but no one seems opposed, so let's go for January 10th. Oh, Ritik, question or no?
Oh, no, I was just doing a thumbs up.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. I think we're okay to move on then from that. Thank you for the update, Robert. We'll move into our in-camera session. So if I can get a mover to go in camera. Mohi, seconded by. Need a seconder. Ritik, perfect. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. My hand is up 2, 4, 5. Any opposed? Abstentions? I guess Dina. Okay, we'll move into camera at 7:58. Perfect. All right, Robert and Anusha, if you could please give us your verbal updates.
Nusha, I'll start. I think I can get through it relatively quickly. So I guess the first update is on new student space. So it's been the focus of much of my time recently. So there are two sort of phases to this. There's the design. And so we're designing each floor and what goes in each room at this point in time. But it also includes information technology, AV, sustainability, and then maybe what phase 2 looks like. Also on the finance side to obtain a term sheet from a bank, and also some information on how much HST we have to pay. So that's what I've been working on quite a bit since our last board meeting. One thing I need to make you aware of is that our architect firm would like to present to you what this building looks like on the 13th. However, we typically try to be done in 2 hours, and so they would like to speak to you, and we also will have a financial update. So I'm respectfully requesting on behalf of the architect and based on Brielle's comment in our board motion that we do schedule 2.5 to 3 hours for our January board meeting. So maybe I'll leave it there and I'll come back to the rest of my report, because we do have several agenda items plus a request from our architect plus now the finance piece. So I'd like to get your feedback on that, and then I'll give you the rest of my report. So I'll throw it back to you, Madam Chair.
Just jumping off of what you said, Robert, I'm wondering if people would be agreeable to start that board meeting at an earlier time, just if it is going to be kind of a larger discussion. So maybe we start at 6 or 6:30 if people would be in agreement with that. I see some head nods. Is anyone opposed to it starting earlier? Like, is there any conflicts from anyone that's here? January 13th? Okay, could I then suggest that we start at 6:30, if that's okay? Awesome. All right, I see some thumbs up. Perfect. Is there any questions for Robert?
Madam Chair, I have a couple other quick updates. They're not very long, though.
Okay, go ahead.
So I will inform the architect that the meeting will be at 6:30 and that they can be on the agenda. A couple other quick updates. I want to sort of give a little bit of a shout out, although she's already appeared, is to Patricia General, who will be filling Kaylee's maternity role position. And we met her earlier this evening, and perhaps she can wave to those that have joined us a little bit late. So Patricia, I'm going to put you on the spot for a quick second here and just say a quick hello.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Hello, everyone. I'm Patty. You can call me Patty instead of Patricia. It's a little too formal. I'm looking forward to working with you all and meeting you in person in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. And then just a couple other items. So our club ratification, I reported last meeting that we had 137 clubs. We actually have 140 clubs, so please consider that to be amended. As we come into next term, we will be working on an equity, diversity, and inclusion audit. Kate will be leading that process, and then Anusha certainly is going to add some student input into that. And then we'll also be as a team, so Kate, Carly, Anusha, and I will be working with Brock University to draft a new omnibus agreement. and that is essentially our working relationship with Brock University. We are looking to build a new building, and the university also has some things they wish to try to amend. So that is another project we'll be working on in the second term. My final piece is a little bit of a personal update. I just returned from a family wedding in Minnesota, and I will submit my last assignment of my last class before moving to my thesis next term, and I will submit that by Friday at 5 o'clock. And that concludes my report. I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions for his report? All right, seeing none, I'll give the floor to Anusha.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, we didn't have any physical written reports this time because we met a few weeks ago. So not much from my end, but I'll just be as brief as possible. We did have our second A-team meeting that happened on December 2nd. We had about 7 students come in. Not the biggest turnout, but still good. Each exec shared their set of updates. We also provided students with an update on the building, and also did give them a heads up about student consultation that might be coming in the next semester. We also provided them with a winter 2025 preview about Frost Week, BUSU elections and the executive hiring and those timelines. And we did a successful giveaway where 7 or 6 students, I think, got 5 or 6 students got BUSU swag, which was nice. As part of my portfolio, we had the Cycle 2 Capital Infrastructure Committee meeting, as well as the Board of Trustees meeting. And as indicated in my previous board report, the Student Alumni Center project was going to go as an information item at the committee meeting as well as the board, which they did successfully. There were no questions as such, so which was good. The executive team met with Robin Bourgeois, the Vice Provost of Indigenous Engagement, virtually. They reached out to our team to talk about the Indigenous Strat Plan that is going to be developed. If you were able to be at the Brock Strat Plan launch or you were able to see it online, there was a mention that was made about the Indigenous Strat Plan being developed. So that is underway right now, and they were kind enough to involve us in the conversations, the initial conversations. So we're looking forward to a working group call out, and then maybe putting our thoughts into the Indigenous Strat Plan and supporting the group as well. As senators and Board of Trustees members, they were invited to a joint consultation session to discuss the Brock University Strat Plan and its implementations. There were some amazing conversations that we had in that room that day, which was wonderful. And Carly was there from Senate, and I was there part of board. We had some great conversations, and really looking forward to some more such platforms where they will be inviting people to kind of implement the strat plan and looking for better ways to do that. We had, in terms of events, we had our last Trivia Tuesday and Brews and Board Games 2 days after our last board meeting, so I believe that was the 28th. And we will resume those back in the winter semester. We also had our last free food event for the semester, which was the free poutine night, which is definitely a student favorite and continues to be one. We had about 600 students join, which was amazing to see, and happy that we could feed so many students as well. Another item on the event side is Frost Week. Programming is all set. One of the biggest events that is coming up in the next semester is Brock's Got Talent. The applications for Brock's Got Talent open on December 13th. So we're looking forward to that. In terms of the VPEA role, Mark and Isabella, who's our policy writer, are working on writing their section for the policy paper, which is the tech-enabled paper. And they are in constant conversation with USA, and they are working on it, which will be ready to go for the next General Assembly at USA. And lastly, exec office hours for the semester, as well as exec IG live, has ended for the semester, but we will resume those, sorry, next semester as well. And those are all the office-based updates. Whereas in terms of a personal update, I have successfully completed the 2 courses that I had for my last semester. So I completed my last assignment yesterday, which was very exciting. And I will be graduating in June of 2025, and the winter semester will be more focused towards just work. And I have submitted my intent to graduate as well. So there's going to be a lot of work for me in the winter break to get paperwork done. So that's a little personal update, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Anusha. That's so exciting that you'll be submitting your intent to graduate. Definitely well earned. I do have a question. I was wondering when the office closes down, when like everyone is out, and then I think Keely mentioned that you are back in on January 6th. I was wondering if
Yes.
out for Christmas holidays.
Yep. No, for sure. You're right. We're back on the 6th of January, and we are all out of office on the 13th, but we will all be working kind of online for the next week until exams end, so that we can answer any emails that students might have and
And then
help
when offline.
Kate, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the 20th, 19th? I don't know. 19th. There we go.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted, but 19.
I read your lips.
Perfect. I don't know if maybe Robert or Anisha yourself could answer this, but in the past, previous years, BUSU has done like 12 days of giveaways for students. And I was just wondering, I don't know if you did it this year and if there was like a plan to do it or why we're not doing it anymore. If anyone could speak to that. Yes, Robert.
I'll let Robert speak on that.
Kate might be able to add a little bit more, maybe Anusha can, but so essentially we actually ran 12 days of BUSU for one very strategic reason, and it was actually to grow our followership. And so it was about getting new people to follow. So we would basically spend money on things so that people would follow. So it wasn't necessarily about student engagement or necessarily giving things back. It was actually about grabbing followers. And so we've been really successful over the last little while in grabbing followers. In fact, we have more followers now than we actually have undergraduate students. Now, I understand some alumni and things of that nature would follow, but that's a good problem to have. And so as a result, we put those funds that we would have put into 12 days of BUSU into things like breakfast programs and free food events and things of that nature. So that's kind of the real nutshell, is that we got to sort of a plateau where we weren't really adding the followers we once did. And we're actually doing that somewhat organically now. And we are in the entire province of Ontario, we're actually ranked second if we look at the number of undergraduate students and our number of followers. So our ratio of undergraduate students to followers is second in the province, next only to Nipissing. So is that helpful, Madam Chair?
Perfect. I love all the stats that you always give us. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Anusha, go ahead.
Sorry, this is not regarding regarding your question, but I'm gonna wait for someone else to ask Robert any questions if they have, and then add something to my report that I did not.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any hands up, so go ahead, Anusha.
Okay, perfect. I do want to give an update on Food First. As you probably have read from my previous board reports, we finally were able to get into a conversation with senior management with Brad Clark about the Food First program. We had our second meeting yesterday. I'm not going to say that we had some conversation, but I'm not going to say it was the best conversation that we've had. There's definitely one more meeting that's going to come up. So just wanted to give an update on what's happening on that front. I'll probably be able to give a more detailed update in January because we might have to make some decisions.
Okay, thanks. Any questions or anything else before we depart? Okay, I'm seeing just some nice faces who would like to leave. So I guess we can wrap up. I guess I'll just say have a safe and happy holiday. Good luck on any remaining exams, and we'll talk soon. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Um, hands up. Oh, wait. I think I saw Charlie's hand up. Or was it Mohi's? I don't know. One of them. All right.
Mohi's was first.
Cool. All in favor to adjourn. Okay, cool. All right, adjourned at 8:28. All right, have a happy holiday and happy new year, everybody.
Happy holidays. Good luck your exams, guys.